I'm Stephen Lewis. I'm an artist based in Derry, and I'm up here in the Sundano Suite looking at Catherine Ellis's new exhibition, An Elephant in the Room. It's an interesting time for people in this part of the world. It's 20 years on since the Good Friday Agreement, and we think we've moved on from a time of trouble and war to a time of peace and happiness and reconciliation. But sometimes paid reconciliation and peace can be a veneer, and Catherine Ellis has looked very carefully at this from someone who's lived through this and lived through the whole period of the troubles that went before it, and has created an exhibition that maybe pokes under the surface of this, to have a look and see what people really think about the troubles now in this time. The works that she has created are very subtle works in that they tend to focus on little pieces of ephemera or little pieces of memories that we would all have been very familiar to us as kids growing up, and yet formed an unusual background to how we lived during the time of the Troubles. One of her pieces uses as a motif the concrete roadblocks that used to be dropped in place on hundreds of little border roads around the border, which was basically the front line of the Troubles. These blocks, called Dragon's Teeth, have a big concrete obelisk with iron hoops for the cranes to drop them in. And she's created a wonderful little montage of this sort of mad maze of these things, and made tiny and cute and almost you want to pick up and sort of play with. And yet these things identified themselves as, this is the border between you and other people and you and another war. And whereas these objects are still probably out there in the fields and farms of Northern Ireland, they've kind of become forgotten. They've probably been overgrown. And then where she's been really clever, I think, is that she has taken exactly the same format, concrete casting and iron hoops, and she has transferred that over into another memory. She's made very similar objects that sit in a circle, but these are now handbags. These are handbags in the circle of a disco in the 1970s. But again, these are concrete blocks. And there's a little glitter ball that shines on them, and you can almost hear the laughs of girls dancing around handbags in the middle of the disco. Now, as a teenager, young male teenager, I didn't understand this world at all or how this worked. But as soon as I saw that little circle of objects, I knew exactly what that feeling was. Just as I knew exactly as the feeling of the Dragon's Teeth roadblocks was. They were the background, everyday, ordinary people's scenery in this kind of mad time that we lived in. The clever thing that she does is that each of these pieces they're not blunt stories. It's not war is bad, peace is good, you know, parties were fun, roadblocks were bad. Even the piece with the handbags in the disco, they're on a black tarry surface. They're surrounded by feathers. Now, it's got connotations to the really dark connotations of tarring and feathering, but also then the feathers from a hen party. Is it a mothering thing? Is it a sheltering thing? Is it a cocooning thing? Or is it a threatening thing? Probably the most iconic piece in the work for me is a rope bridge handmade out of wire wool, and it spans across the gallery from blank wall to blank wall. Now, this is a piece that's, along with its knitting needles and ball of wool that comes along with it, as if to make your own peace bridge, is echoing an iconic piece of architecture that was built in Derry after the Troubles, which was the Peace Bridge. Now, it's a footbridge that was designed by politicians with the idea that it would bring the two halves of the Derry community together who live on either side of the river. Now, Catherine overheard some typical Derry ladies to saying that there's no way you'd bring these two communities together unless you ripped them all out and then knitted them back together again. So that's how she's used that metaphor. It's a really clever piece of work, and even just to add that extra element to it, this bridge divides the gallery space into 2/3 and 1/3, And there's no obvious way to get past the bridge to see the rest of the exhibition. You either stand looking over it, like we have done with divides in Ireland for years, or you have to make some sort of crawling effort to get to the other side, to understand what's on the other side. It's a piece that's extremely sculptural. It takes up the whole space. It makes a statement in 3 dimensions. It's a really wonderful piece of sculpture. One nice feature of the exhibition as well is that Catherine's really done something that, although talking about regional themes and actually also international themes, becoming more and more international themes, she's also made the piece respond to the actual site itself. And I think it's a big shout out to Artlink for showing such an interesting, contemporary, international, modern exhibition.